Hi everyone. So today I'll be talking about GPUs, but nothing of the sort that you've already heard from earlier, because I'm going to talk about graphics. And, well, you might know or not, but in the GPU realm, you have the compute parts and the graphics parts. The compute is most of what Julia GPU does. The graphics is the rest. It's essentially when you want to use your GPU, graphics processing units to actually do graphics. And it so happens that these two are kind of separate because in the graphics part, you want to leverage special hardware features that only apply in the context of rendering, like rendering an image, for example, where you can leverage rasterization operations or hardware instructions and also ray tracing in hardware and so on. Maybe one day the gap between the two will be bridged, but for now we're stuck with having two different tools and APIs and so on. I'm going to be talking about Vulkan, but first I'd like to talk about OpenGL as well, because you might know that Vulkan was kind of, but not really, the successor to OpenGL, which are the two main APIs used to do graphics, to use your GPU for graphics in a cross-platform way. Yes. The thing is, Vulkan is very, very, very complex. It was launched in 2016 and has been improving since, but it is still very, very complex, and a lot of the time you actually don't need it. So if you want something that is quick and easy to use, you don't need to think too much about what's going on the GPU. You just want to do to submit a bunch of shaders for rendering, and then that's it. Please use OpenGL. Otherwise, if you use Vulkan, that's just too much pain on yourself for virtually nothing. But on the other side, if you are really serious about building a foundation with like a renderer, with a fully fledged renderer on top of a graphics API, and you want to then build an application on top of it, or maybe a game engine, you probably should consider Vulkan, because it is much, much better as a foundational layer. OpenGL, for example, relies on a lot of global states. The driver does a lot of guesswork just to try to figure out what the developer wants. In Vulkan, everything you tell it to do is what is going to be executed, which is good, but also sometimes one of its weaknesses, because then you have to be explicit about everything. First, a few words on what are actually these two things, OpenGL and Vulkan. They're just specifications. So essentially you have a document that was developed by the Kronos Group, a consortium of hardware vendors collaborating together to have a cross-platform solution that sat down and specified all of the behavior that an ideal cross-platform API would have. And then you have all of the hardware vendors like NVIDIA and AMD that produce their graphics card that will then have a driver under the form of a shared library that implements this specification, of course, with a bunch of batteries of tests to make sure that they actually conform. So there's no single library for OpenGL or Vulkan. You interact with drivers. These drivers are shared libraries, but they behave in a way that is dictated by the specification. So if you want to interface with Vulkan from Julia, it's, you might say, is just another C library interop kind of thing, which it is actually. You can generate bindings with, for example, Clang.jl from C headers. The Kronos group does provide a bunch of C headers. Then you have a bunch of structures and a bunch of functions that essentially wrap C calls. The major issue with that is that you still have a lot of low-level things to worry about. See, in that structure, you have a bunch of pointers, and they're going to be very painful to deal with. And another consideration is that if you take a look at the Vulkan API, you have a lot of things in there. It's a huge API. On version 1.4.321, you have virtually 1,400 types and almost 700 functions. But let's go ahead and use it. So let's create, the first object you'll be creating in Vulkan typically is some kind of instance, which is a handle to the API, which should be very, very simple. But if you actually write the code that will interface with the Vulkan driver to perform this simple call, you end up with all of this. It took me a long time to figure that out. in a way that it doesn't crash, and that in a way that it's guaranteed to be correct, that if you execute it inside a function or a global scope, both don't crash. So surely we can do better. You can see we have a lot of details in there, not really a bunch of semantics, just C interrupt details. And for this, I made a package called Vulkan.jl, which I really found to be very helpful for my own use, which relies on the fact that the Vulkan specification is available in an XML format that I can parse, then make sense of the C interoperability interrupt patterns, and then essentially emit a lot of code, generated code, that will wrap all of my functions and structures in Vulkan with everything that I would have done if I had written that by hand. And so here you can actually create your instance just with Vulkan.jl with, well, just these two simple lines or code calls, which represents the semantics of what you want to do. You don't have all of the details of C interrupt here. It can be seen even better here, where you have a whole workload that doesn't actually execute anything, but sets up all of the things that you would require to execute anything on the GPU with Vulkan, with command buffers and such. And it just fits in one slide. And you have only semantics here. You don't have any C interrupt details. And it works. And it doesn't crash. It's correct. And it's actually reasonably fast. We can make it faster at the expense of some API convenience. That's all supported by Vulkan.jl, of course, because we want things to be as fast as possible if you really need to. But the main point is that you don't need any C interrupt knowledge, and it feels more like Julia than like C. Here are a few example things that I made with Vulkan, a bunch of renders, which all rely on rasterization, except for the terrain erosion simulation, which is just a computator. You can render text, for example, if you like, or do really any more complex things, because the idea is really just to have a wrapper around the Vulkan API that gives you maximum convenience and performance without any restrictions. So if you're ever serious about using Vulkan in Julia and want to do it in an easy way, I do recommend using that library. So quickly to summarize, to sum up, Vulkan is a specification that just a paper for GPU drivers that then implement it, which enables the use of hardware features for graphics, particularly if you want to render graphics. It's really hard to do interop specifically with Vulkan because it is so complex. There's a lot of API surface, and they have really patterns that stress out all of the correctness guarantees that Julia provides. But we can use the XML specification to do a lot of the work for us and essentially not have to worry about C interoperability if all you want to do is to use the Vulkan API. You don't really want to deal with the C details usually. And that concludes my presentation. So thank you for your attention. If you want any more, details, you can check out Vulkan.jl and the documentation. I have a lot more details there. I have also a 30-minute version of this talk on the JuliaCon Global in Pittsburgh a few months ago. And of course, if you have any issues or pull requests, they are welcome. Thank you again.